Welcome back to Noble Capital Markets Virtual Conference. We appreciate you joining us. I'm Michael Kopinski, the Director of Research. I know it's late in the afternoon, and some of us probably wish that we would have a shot of the product that we're going to be talking about here in the late afternoon. But I wanted to introduce Jarrett Boone, who's the CEO of Safety Shot, a very interesting and dynamic company. I'm going to turn it over to Jarrett for his presentation. Go ahead, Jarrett. Welcome.
Thank you, Michael, and thank you everybody for attending. As Michael said, it's late in the day, and I'm sure you guys have seen quite a few of these, and I'm just going to kind of keep it casual all at the same time. PowerPoint presentations, I'm sure, are probably not everybody's favorite thing to go through, but I'll kind of go through everything at a high level, and then happy to answer any questions at the conclusion. But what we're talking about today is Safety Shot, and what we've been able to do is we've been working on this beverage for the past 8 or 9 years. It first started out as a pharmaceutical type of product to combat alcohol poisoning in hospitals, and then also work with various police departments across the United States to help people get out of the drunk tank sooner. And what we kind of realized, my partner and I, is the bigger addressable market is really direct to consumer. And in having done that as well, it was going to cost us millions of dollars and many years to go to the pharmaceutical route. And so we decided to go direct to consumer and spent the last several years re-engineering the drink so it would not have pharmaceutical type grade of ingredients in it, and really worked to make everything. There's over 30 active ingredients in this drink that are all what are called GRAS, generally regarded as safe. And so we've developed the first patented beverage that will help somebody reduce their blood alcohol content, so it makes them sober by detoxifying the alcohol out of their body. And in doing so, it certainly eliminates any type of, it's a remedy for a hangover the next day as well, in the event that somebody didn't consume it the night or the day of drinking. So it's something that's completely unique in the marketplace today, and we've created a brand new category for this. The way that the drink works is basically in a few different mechanisms, and in layman's terms, it works as simple as this: there's some ingredients in there that will coat the lining of a consumer's stomach, and by doing that, what it does is it stops the absorption of alcohol within somebody's system upon drinking it. Typically, what we see within about 30 minutes of consuming Safety Shot is consumers. The second way that it works is it's got all the various hydration mechanisms and usual suspects that you would see, right? The vitamins, minerals, electrolytes, etc. And then the third component of the way that it really also works is that there's various nootropics in the drink. And what the nootropics do is it gives you that brain clarity and eliminates any type of brain fog that you may have associated with consuming alcohol. What we have found with consumers is it varies from consumer as far as the varying degree in which it will lower somebody's blood alcohol content. But what we've seen is anywhere from a 20% up to a 50% decrease in somebody's BAC. Everybody metabolizes things a little bit differently. For myself, for example, I'm 5'7", 155 pounds. I may drink 5 drinks a month. For me would be a lot. And so the effect that it has on me might be different than somebody that's, a 225-pound male who may drink a little bit more, or a 95-pound woman. One thing that as I mentioned, is we've got the patents that we've been working on, as well as we've just wrapped up our clinical trials, which we're super excited about. And we should be coming out with those results here within the next 3 to 4 weeks, maybe 5 weeks tops. They're just compiling the data as we speak. As I mentioned earlier, we've kind of created this whole new category. There's nothing on the planet that exists that will lower somebody's BAC. There are other products that are out there that will, act as an anti-hangover cure, which you've seen probably in the marketplace today. We see this as a big advantage, right? Because there's already a consumer base out there that's consuming maybe a like-minded product, but not necessarily the same type of a product. So we feel that it's a natural extension if somebody is buying, Morning Recovery or Cheers or Liquid IV, that they would be just as enhanced to be able to take advantage of Safety Shot. As I mentioned, these are the competitors within the space. all great competitors within their own and with unique advantages, but as you can see, nothing that compares to Safety Shot in completing the two categories of lowering VAC as well as eliminating the hangover. This slide basically is just kind of showing as well, we've kind of created a category of one by combining all of the components of Safety Shot, right? Like it's a wellness product, it's a functional beverage. And so it gives the ability to give the wellness, the hydration, and the revitalization. It is a functional beverage. So having said that, it's not going to taste like a Celsius or a Red Bull. You know, people are drinking it for the effect that it has, which we've seen very positive across actually every generation so far. The addressable market is basically anybody that's over 21 that can consume alcohol. The sweet spot, we've seen two sweet spots within the category, right? Anywhere from the 21 to 28-year-old, you know, the early adopters are starting to drink on their journey, all the way to professionals like ourselves, you know, who have to show up the next day for work and be able to perform. The other thing that's been unique about it is we've seen people's consumption experience is a little bit different as well. When we first launched the drink, we really thought this would be the last drink of the evening for people, right? So that they would be able to sober up and feel better the next day. But what we're also seeing with consumers, similar like with Red Bull, they would be consuming, you know, Safety Shot in the beginning of the evening or in the middle as it extends the night and gives people a little bit more of a lasting experience throughout the evening. And then, of course, the consumption aspect of it of the next day to eliminate and remedy any type of hangover. Where we've launched thus far, so we launched back in January. So we really just birthed this baby about 6 months ago. We started on Amazon and we started within our own e-commerce site with Shopify. Within the first few hours of launching the product, we sold out in a matter of hours. We went back to our manufacturing, you know, produced 2 million more cans. And then we also engaged with a company called Advantage Solutions. And the reason why I bring them up is because they're very important to our growth. They're the #1 sales and marketing company for CPG products across the United States. The reason why we partnered with them is because we really are brought in from the top down rather than the bottom up when it comes to the retail partnerships. What we've seen with retail, particularly in beverage, what retail generally will do is they will do their resets in the fourth quarter of a year. So we missed those resets having launched in January because they did those resets in October and November of 23. But what we're able to find is we're actually skipping the line in a lot of these resets and not having to wait for the resets to come in 2024 of October. And the reason for this is because we are creating a brand new category. And so the retailers are taking notice of that. Within the last 2 or 3 weeks, we launched with Bevmo and GoPuff nationwide in 150 of their locations with Bevmo, along with Liquor Barn in Kentucky. We've launched on the West Coast in Los Angeles. We'll be in about 400 7-Elevens here in the next 60 days. We recently launched in Las Vegas into the casinos and some of the C-stores in that market. And then we're launching here over the 4th of July weekend in the New York area in both the bodegas and in the Hamptons. You'll see some other announcements with every major big box retailer. Some of these are waiting on our clinical trials, although those weren't mandated for something that we wanted to do. The reason, again, why we did that is to gain not only like consumer confidence, but retail partners' confidence and also investor confidence. And so we're anticipating those results and additional partnerships will be coming down the line with those. This goes into the pricing of the product as it exists today. The product format today, we're selling it in a 12-ounce can in a 4-pack. You'll see very shortly within the next 6 to 8 weeks, we're also reformatting the product to come out in a 4-ounce shot. And one of the reasons why we're coming out with the 4-ounce shot is for a few different reasons. One reason is that we partnered with Mr. Checkout. Mr. Checkout has over 200,000 retail locations, mainly within C-stores, mostly responsible for the success that you'll see with 5-Hour Energy. we feel that by being able to be on the countertop and at point of sale will increase consumer velocity. And so that was one of the reasons why we were also moving over to a 4-ounce format. In addition to that, what we have found with consumers, as I mentioned earlier, everybody's experience is a little bit different. And so while a 225 or 250-pound man may want a 12-ounce shot of safety shot, a 95 or 105-pound woman or everybody in between may want to moderate their experience and maybe only consume 4 or 8 ounces. So that was one of the other transitions behind making that decision. You'll also see us coming out within the next 6 weeks as well, a different format. We're coming out with stick pots, which is similar to like the liquid IV model, so that consumers can take this on the go. They can stick it in their pocket, they can stick it in their purse, keep it in their office, and just make it a little bit more portable. Our go-to-market strategy is pretty simple, actually. Although it's very multi-pronged. The first is to really dominate online through e-commerce. And so we've been able to do that thus far with the Amazon and Shopify account. And then we're going into these other key markets that I had mentioned: Los Angeles, Vegas. You'll see us here in Phoenix, Miami, New York, Chicago, Dallas. We'll be hitting all of those major markets. And then we'll be scaling in the key chains, as you see here with the Walmarts, the Circle K, Costco, Targets, Walgreens of the world, CVS's. And then the other component, which you'll see a little bit down the road because of the effort that it takes, is the traditional DSD model with distributors, right? And the reason why we're doing that aspect of it last is because we do want to be able to build the brand and so that consumers know where to find it, right? So with the DSD model, that's when you'll see us more in the restaurants, bars, nightclubs, cruise lines, that type of a thing. So that's the strategy as far as going to market, using the traditional 360 omni-channel approach. We're hitting all aspects of marketing and touching the consumer in all the various ways. One of the things that we've invested heavily in, that we have are our influencers, especially with this generation. We know that the youth drives culture and the youth drives change. And so since this is an innovative product, you'll see some of the people that we've partnered with cumulatively have over 110 million followers. Most notably, we've partnered with the Nelk Boys. We've partnered with Drewski, Matthew Espinoza, Danny Way. You'll see as recently as this past Monday, we partnered with Ryan Garcia. And one of the other reasons why we've done this is we really listen to the retailers. And what the retailers are also finding is that these influencers are driving in-store foot traffic at their retail locations. And what you'll be able to see and what you'll see us doing in the future is these collaborations with various influencers and doing promotions at various retailers to drive that foot traffic to gain the consumer confidence and loyalty into those brands. It's also one of the reasons why we're not having to pay slotting fees, which is what's traditional in the retail space, because we're coming with marketing horsepower and adding to that. And so that's one of the things that these retailers are absolutely loving that we're doing. And we'll continue to add to our portfolio of influencers as we grow and gain momentum. This is just some examples of the different types of creative that we're using with these types of influencers. We've seen well over 100 million impressions just in the short period of time that we've engaged with these folks. This is something that I just want to kind of touch upon. I think it's important in every business that, when you look at business, maybe like a horse race, right? You've got the horse and you've got the jockey, and I think with this particular company with Safety Shot, the horse is obviously the product. I think we've got a thoroughbred here of something that is capable of winning a race. But at the same time, you can have the best horse, you can have the best race car, whatever analogy that you want to have. But if you don't have the right drivers or the right team behind you, I think that's the winning part of the winning equation of this. So just a brief background on some of the team members. Myself, I'm one of the original founders and investors and thought leaders in LifeLock. We started that company back in 2005. Took it public in 2012. Symantec came in and took us private in Norton and bought us for $2.3 billion. Jordan Schur, is very big in the entertainment world, was president and chairman of Geffen Records. Well known on each coast, from West Coast to East Coast, as far as talent, both from in any aspect of entertainment. Josh Wagner, led a division of Anheuser-Busch and is our chief revenue officer. Certainly has been here, done that in the beverage space, and largely responsible for a lot of the partnerships that you see coming out almost on a weekly, if not every other day basis that you see us. Dave Sandler has been in the supplement and beverage industry and manufacturing for the last 30 years. Same thing, we're building a team around us along with our CFO. Our board of directors, John Gulish and my partner, who I started this with, several years ago, has had multiple exits, mostly within the franchise space. He was one of the original thought leaders and investors in European Wax, Orange Theory Fitness, Massage Envy, and others. David Long sits on our board, CEO of Orange Theory Fitness. They're doing over $1 billion in revenue. Rich Pascucci, certainly an icon in the beverage space. Rich acts as an advisor for us. He was one of the original guys with Red Bull and Diageo. I think Rich has had over 15 beverage exits in the last 24 months, 25 months, and is certainly an integral part of the team. And so with that, I tried to keep it as informal as possible, knowing it's late in the day for you guys, and certainly would love to open it up for any questions you may further have.
Great, Jared. Thank you. And if you have questions, feel free to type those into the chat box, and I'll get to as many as I possibly can. Just a quick couple here. I just wanted to ask, since this product had its genesis from the pharmaceutical perspective, I was just wondering, how important is taste? Because I'm just kind of curious whether or not people just kind of view this product and say, I don't really care how it tastes. I'm just going to go ahead and consume it because it's going to be effective on on the alcohol issue. What are your thoughts?
That's a great question. And taste is one of those things that we're working on. And the way that I best describe it is this: it kind of tastes a cross between, I think maybe everybody has grown up with like the Flintstone vitamins, right? Or Tang. It probably tastes like a variation of that. Having said that, it's never going to taste like a Red Bull, a Bang, or things like that. And that's not our goal. It's really a functional beverage. And I'll give you an example, and it's probably not the best example, right? But having said that, like, we all drink Pepto-Bismol for a reason, right? When we need to consume that, right? And it's mainly so we don't squirt in our pants, right? But we're not I wouldn't say as offensive as Pepto-Bismol, but it's a flavor that we will continue to modify. If we hear any type of constructive feedback, flavor is one thing that the consumers would like to see a little bit different. But other consumers love it, at the same time too. So everybody's got a different profile, and that's kind of how you've seen beverages go these days. There's so many different flavors and that type of a thing. But I think you'll also see us start addressing this a little bit more in our marketing as well, to kind of pre-frame the consumer so that it's not as much of a surprise. So great question.
Yeah. So we have a couple of questions that we have coming in. You mentioned that the product coats the lining of the stomach to prevent additional alcohol absorption. Does the product also reduce the existing blood alcohol content, the alcohol that's already been absorbed? Does it expedite the body's process of metabolizing alcohol?
So the short answer to that is yes. And so more of the longer-winded answer to that will be coming out with our scientific studies. But one thing that we've emphatically seen with all consumers across the board is, while I did mention there's varying degrees of how much it will lower somebody's BAC, like I mentioned myself, it will lower mine by 50%, but that's not going to be everybody. But what we have seen in the thousands of people that have consumed Safety Shot is it unanimously, what it does is it does stop the absorption of the alcohol. So while somebody may have had, say, 4 or 5 drinks, which would typically put them maybe at a 0.10 or a 0.11 or a 0.12 BAC level, by consuming Safety Shot, it stops that peak. So while they may have wanted to peak at a 0.12, they may have only peak at a 0.07 or a 0.08, and then it will then begin to lower their BAC and detoxify their system. Typically, what some of the user experience is like as well, not to get too graphic, but we've all been to the bar. Maybe we drank too much. The first time that you go to the bathroom, you find yourself going a little bit more frequently. You kind of break the seal or break the pattern a little bit. Same is a little bit true with Safety Shot, right? Like, once you've consumed Safety Shot, it'll begin working that way for you within the first 30 minutes.
Gotcha. And I believe you gave some time frame to this next question, but I'm going to ask it again just for clarify. The question is, seems to be a great product and upside based on prior press releases. It appears that the study was due in early June, and that's been weighing on investors' minds. Is there any way to accelerate those results?
That's a great question, and they're emphatically right. We did come out with a press release, and we were anticipating the results by now. Having said that, they're not delayed for any other reason other than it takes time, and we underestimated a little bit about what the time frame was from the third party that had been conducting the study. It's on our mind every single day. It's a question I ask myself every single day. I've been, privy to the information that's been coming in. The process is the process. Some of the data did come back, and we wanted them to even go further because there were some results that we weren't necessarily anticipating seeing as a result of the test that we even want more of. But I can emphatically tell you, John and my partner and I, we've been working on this drink for the last 9 years. And we're very confident in the clinical study results that we're doing. We would not have made the capital investment had we not, had a good idea of what the results were going to be to begin with, along with the thousands of people that we had tested before this. It was really just a formality, and it is for us. I feel like it's Christmas Eve every day. I'm just waiting for the company to call us and be like, "Today's the day for us to be able to announce it." I think everybody will be as excited as we are.
And do you have any idea when the test results will be announced, if there's a time frame?
It could be anywhere from 3 to 6 weeks, right? Like cut it in the middle, probably 4 weeks. I'm hesitant to give a time frame, honestly, because we did that before and we missed it. But the clinical company that we're utilizing has come back and communicated that with us. So we're just really trying to manage expectations a little bit. And candidly, we could do a little bit better job, a month or so ago at making that announcement and being a little bit more, not vague, but just non-committal with it. With the process is the process. We're committed to following it. We have very little interaction with the company for all the right reasons, right? So nothing gets leaked or divulged beforehand.
Let's talk a little bit about the price points. In particular, if you put up the graph where you're right in the middle and you have the wellness, you have revitalization, you have all these different types of products that are kind of circling you. I was just wondering, can you kind of give us a sense of how your product is priced relative to some of those others that are on the market? And in talking about that, what your thoughts are in terms of how you're positioned in the marketplace against those other peers in the pricing?
Yeah, so that's a great question. With this particular beverage, as I mentioned, has not been the easiest drink to engineer. Having said that, with the 30 plus ingredients in it, it's also not the cheapest drink to be able to manufacture. As we grow and scale, we've got manufacturing out of Southern California. We've got a manufacturer out of Dallas, and we're opening up a manufacturer on the East Coast. As there's economies of scale, we know our costs are going to go down, but as far as the price, we feel we're very competitively priced, right? I love Starbucks, right? I call Starbucks $6 because every time you walk in there, it's $6. And consumers have shown that they're willing to pay $6 for a cup of coffee. I certainly think they're willing to pay $5.99 for a functional beverage that'll make them feel better faster and in their road to recovery. And as far as the other competitors, I think you'll see us competitively priced as well with maybe not, with whether it's the Cheers of the world or the probiotic ZBiotics or others, we're all very competitively priced. Even up there with like kombucha and others, like you'll see a lot of the functional beverages in the same price range.
Was the introduction of a 4-ounce shot, was that more from a pricing perspective, or I'm just wondering what the impetus of that decision might have been?
Really, the impetus was a couple of different things. One was the relationship with Mr. Checkout. We really believe by living at point of sale at cash register, that will create consumer demand and velocity all at the same time. And then really the same was true of wanting the consumer to be able to manage their own safety shot experience, right? Like for myself, I don't need to drink 12 ounces to be able to have the same effect. I just don't, but other people might, right? And so it really just depends upon their journey. And that was one of the other reasons why we changed into that form factor.
That was really my next question. The 4-ounce format, does that necessarily give you the same effect, I guess? And what percentage of people would be able to get the same effect at a 4-ounce relative to a 12-ounce product?
You're not so it's not a condensed version, so it's not a concentrated version, so you're not going from 12 ounces down to 4 ounces where it would have the same effect. It would have a third of effect on some individuals, right? But some people may only want a third of effect, or if they want to have, consume 2 bottles, that aspect of it, 2/3 of the effect. So it's not, and as over time we will develop the product even further. And the goal is to always to modify and to use the best ingredients that were on the planet out there to accomplish what we're looking to do.
And another question is, are the margins the same with the 4-ounce versus the 12-ounce?
They are roughly the same because of the nature. Just because it's smaller doesn't necessarily make it cheaper because you're using the same amount of ingredients. What does change and will impact the financials of the organization quite significantly is when we do come out with the stick pack, right? Because now we're literally not shipping liquid across the country, literally and fairly, right? Like now we're shipping powder. And so the economics behind the business model dramatically change as well by the addition of the stick pack.
Gotcha. And then I guess in terms of the pricing of the 4-ounce, I know that your single can is like $5.99, I thought, right? And what was the pricing of the 4-ounce going to be?
We're still working on that, so the way that it's going to be packaged, it's going to be very, the short answer is we're still working on that. We've got about 8 weeks to come up with that, and we'll have that out shortly.
And in terms of the rollout strategy, do you have any particular revenue targets and goals for the company at this point? And, kind of outlining what your thoughts are as how much consumption as we look out to the next year? I know it's
Yeah,
kind of looking out too far at this
no,
point.
it's a great question, right? And we really try to temper it, right? Because we're not only I use this analogy a lot. It's kind of cliche, but not only are we making the Kool-Aid, we're drinking our own Kool-Aid. So I want to be a little careful when I say we're drinking our own Kool-Aid, by coming out and coming out with outrageous expectations. What we have seen thus far within the beverage space, we are a good solid 18 months ahead of where a normal beverage brand would be in their first year. Like I said, we just birthed this baby back in January, so we're really focused on driving, e-commerce, which I think by itself online will do, north of 5 million, but we're not even including brick and mortar into that yet because we're waiting for that life cycle to kick in. So I mean, we've got a lot of growth potential available to us, and the stock where it is today compared to where it's going to be in the future, there's a lot of runway left. Like when you look back at the early days of Celsius, back when it was named Fahrenheit, or even Red Bull back in the early days. And I'm not trying to compare ourselves to that because I'm not. But when if you're if you do your due diligence, you'll see where they were compared to where we are and where we're going. I'm hopeful of our trajectory and excited about it.
Jared, I know that we have additional questions and coming in from the field, but we don't have time to get to all of those, and I'm sorry for that. I really appreciate your participation. I look forward to watching your exciting developments and your rollout strategy. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch.
Listen, if anybody has any additional questions, feel free to reach out to me directly. You can find me on LinkedIn or on the company website. I'm happy to spend as much time with anybody to answer any further questions.
Thank you for participating. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Bye-bye.